Hey everybody, welcome to the Postural Neurology Fast Action Bonus Strategy Session. We are going to have a lot of fun today. This is just, honestly, this is all about you. So how I wanted to do it today was actually go through some slides which are all about implementing postural neurology, and then open it up for a live Q&A. If you guys have any questions, I want to make sure that I can definitely address those individual needs that you guys have. So it's going to be a ton of fun. As you're logging in, then just so you guys know, we'll do a few PowerPoint slides. I don't want this to be too much of a lecture. I just want to share with you some of my best tips for being successful at the implementation of postural neurology. So this is our time together as a strategy session. So anything that comes up with questions, just go ahead and ask, and I want to make sure that I can help you guys all individually so that we can make sure that you're very, very successful when it comes to the implementation of postural neurology. So first of all, how's it going? Are you guys enjoying the course? Have you gotten through all the course material? Are you still working through it? Have you had any hiccups along the way? Just let me know what's going on with you guys, how it's going for you. I hope that you're getting through the material and that you're implementing as you go. If there's one thing I can certainly recommend, it is to implement as you go instead of just waiting until the end to start implementing with your patients. Or at least while you're going through the material, be sure that you're thinking about, who does this apply to? You know, what client can I use this with? Or, oh, I remember seeing a patient with this case presentation. Now I know where I can apply this treatment protocol. Or it makes sense what I saw on that analysis, for example. So go ahead and think about these things while you're going through the course material. And any questions that you have with implementation, just go ahead and type it in the box as we're going. All right, so I'm going to share my PowerPoint like I mentioned. I'm going to go through some top tips for successful implementation of postural neurology. And then in addition to that, any questions that come up, let me know. And I just wanted to go through some things, you know, from a practice management perspective, but also from a clinical perspective, that when you pair these things together, it's going to make you very, very successful in practice. So give me just a moment while we share this. A PowerPoint there now, and you'll notice that each of the slides says postural neurology implementation at the top, because that is what we're focusing on today, which is implementation. So the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is what you need to implement postural neurology into your practice. So despite, you know, other programs that make you buy a bunch of new equipment in order to be certified, it's really not like that with postural neurology. We want you to have the must-have items so that you can be successful with implementation, but at the same time, you can pick and choose what it is that you want to implement into your practice. So the must-have items, number one is a posture grid. So posture grids are important for lining up the patient correctly and for objectivity when performing your posture imaging. In addition to that, it's good for patient education. So it's a win-win. It's good for your objectivity as a clinician, but also for the patient's education, because they can more clearly see their postural distortion patterns and posture imaging when they have a reference, because they're not trained to see shoulder unleveling or pelvic unleveling. But when they can see that one shoulder is here on the grid versus the other one's down here on the grid, then that is something that they can relate with and they understand. Also, posture imaging software. If there's one single thing that everybody should get for their practice, it is definitely posture imaging software. And this doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. And if you really don't want to make that investment, which I think you can invest in just under $100 to get posture imaging software, then at least be taking posture images with your cell phone and seeing pre and post. When it comes to objectivity again and patient education, there is nothing more valuable to your practice than posture imaging software. If there was one single recommendation I was going to give to you in terms of what you need, it is posture imaging 100%. Neurology testing tools. So this is all basic stuff like a pinwheel, Q-tip, tuning fork, pen light, really simple stuff like that, just to make your neurology test that much more practical. Posture cushions. One of the things that I recommend is living the advice that you give. So having posture cushions in all the seats in your practice, instead of them sitting in a slumped position while waiting for their treatment or while doing their posture rehab, but they're still sitting on a normal chair in poor posture. Always have posture cushions out. Let's live the advice we give. And when it comes to hot seats, it's really good that they're on the posture cushions waiting for their treatment, waiting for their turn. Balance boards. Every time anybody's standing around in my office, we have no cell phone signs put up. If they're sitting, they should be sitting on a posture cushion. If they're standing, I want them working on balance. So I recommend having a balance wall where you can put all the balance boards by the wall so that they can hold on to the wall as they're learning and as they're developing that postural fitness with balance and postural stability. And then exercise balls. So again, just the exercise balls are fundamental for sitting, but also for performing some of the rehabilitation exercises that we recommend. recommend. So super minimal equipment, just posture grid, posture imaging software, neurology testing tools, posture cushions, balance boards, and exercise balls. This is not going to cost you a lot of money. Now, some good to have items are going to be a gait analysis app. I really recommend, in addition to evaluating posture imaging, then take video of gait. You can see a lot pre and post, which is good from your perspective as well as the patients when they can see those pre and post changes. Whole body vibration. I would not have whole body vibration in my practice. But if you don't have the physical space or you don't want to make the investment quite yet, then you could always refer to a local fitness center that has whole body vibration units. And then you're creating a synergistic relationship with them, which is good. Plus, in addition to that, you are, giving the best recommendations possible to the patient. Handheld vibration, this can cost you anywhere from $10 up to $150. And this is just going to be a great therapy that you can utilize as a sensory stimulus to the sensory system. Manual massagers, same thing. This can cost you a very minimal amount. Good stimulus for sensory cortex development. And basic exercise equipment, like medicine balls, TheraBands, bungees. These are things that are really good to have in your rehab room and very useful. So all of that together is not going to cost you a lot of money. The one thing that is more of an investment is a whole body vibration. If, in the beginning, the first ones that I bought for our practice, I bought them on Groupon, which sounds funny, but I was actually able to get 3 different whole body vibration units for $300. And then those didn't last me forever, so I want to be clear on that. But then at that point, I was able to then buy some off of Amazon. And then I finally bought vibe plates, which are now the best. I mean, I could use a vibe plate forever. So it was a bit more of an investment, but it's going to stick with me in my practice. All right, so postural neurology implementation, there's 3 different ways that you can implement. The first strategy is where the practitioner does everything. So essentially you're going to do your analyses, your reports, your treatments, and your rehabilitation. So that's a strategy of doing that. And you can bill for everything. And you block off more time per patient, especially for that first and second and third visits. But then the regular treatments after that are going to be much quicker. And then this implementation strategy number 2 is where the practitioner, you do the analyses, the reports, and the treatments, but then you have an assistant do the brain-based posture rehabilitation with the patients. Now, it's not to say that this is the best strategy for everybody, but I want to be clear that this is what we always did because it was the best strategy for us. So I myself would do the analyses and the reports with all new visits and reevaluations, as well as the treatments. And then I had my assistant who was trained to teach our clients their brain-based posture rehabilitation. So we would do a lot of training with our assistants so that they were well prepared to answer questions, as well as how to show them correctly to do the brain-based posture rehabilitation. So on their third visit, then the patient would get a treatment from me, and then they would go into the rehabilitation room with our assistant, and that's where they would start their first exercise appointment. And then they'd have 3 exercise appointments throughout their treatment plan where they would work directly with my assistant. And then after each treatment, they do rehab on their own. So that's a good strategy. Postural neurology implementation strategy 3 is that the practitioner does the analyses, reports, and the treatments in office, and then the patient does all brain-based posture rehabilitation at home. So if this is something that works better for you because 1, you're too busy, or 2, you don't have the physical space, then this is a great modification. So what you can do is you can put together videos and put together a manual and just send them home. Or maybe you could have 1 exercise appointment with them and you show them the stuff to make sure they can do it correctly, and then they do everything at home. And then you check in with them on their treatment. When it comes to day 1, day 2, day 3, let's talk about my best recommendations for how you should set this up. And I've done everything across the board. I mean, I've done a lot of different things, and this is honestly my best recommendation. It doesn't mean you have to follow it, but I want to share with you my experience of what works the best with a postural neurology practice. So first visit, doing the complete brain-based posture analysis. Now, on that first visit, it's just the analysis and education. So they're going to get a tour of our office. I'm going to give them a 2-minute explanation of what posture is, why it's important to them and to their health, and why it makes sense with their symptoms. And then we're going to do a brain-based posture analysis. And that's all that happens on the first visit. And then on the second visit, we do a report of findings, plus they're going to get their neuro kit, their first treatment. So with the brain-based posture analysis, you guys have within your bonuses a brain-based posture analysis checklist. So by the time you finish their first visit, you already have their neural capacity score. So when we do their second visit, their report report of findings, I'm going to give them the same 2-minute spiel about posture before we start their individual report. I'm going to show them their neural capacity score. I'm going to show them their posture images, and I'm going to show them their postural distortion patterns and actually highlight them on a sheet that they're going to bring home with them. And then with their neural capacity score, what we have then is the starting point. Okay, you're a neural capacity of 32 out of 100 today. My goal for you at the end of phase 1 is that we have, 30% reduction in forward head posture, 30% reduction in postural hyperkyphosis, and that you have an increase in neural capacity from a 32 up to a 51, for example. And then we map that out per phase, what it is that their individual goals are. Now, also on that second visit, they are going to get their neuro kit, and they're going to get their first treatment as well. So they leave visit number 2 ready to do the entire treatment plan. They leave in their hands holding a neuro kit, which is good for power of tangibility, and it makes it very real for the patient. So something that's important to consider is that anytime with healthcare that a client signs up for a treatment protocol, they're buying an idea. Now, don't get me wrong, they're buying a great idea that they really need for their health, but it's something that they get excited about at the beginning, and maybe they have pain at the beginning, so it's really relevant to them that they want to get this taken care of, okay? But then, maybe 6 weeks down the road, they start to lose interest. So having a neuro kit where they actually walk out of your office holding something with equipment that they should utilize at home, then this is good power of tangibility for them to actually utilize this stuff. So in addition to being more income for your practice, but it also provides more, it provides the tools that your clients need to do at-home rehabilitation. On that third visit, like I mentioned, this is going to be their first exercise appointment. So they get there, they come in, they go straight to the hot seat, they do their treatment with us, and then they go into phase 1 exercise appointment with our assistant. One thing I do want to mention too is every visit 1, 2, and 3, we're preempting the next visit. So when they come in on visit 1, we do a tour of the office, we tell them our why, we tell them our story as a practice. And then on the second visit, after we finish with their report of findings in the first visit report of findings room, we then bring them into the treatment room, which is an open room. So we do an individualized report, but then we bring them into the open room for their treatment. And as I do that, I'm explaining everything that they should expect. So as I'm walking them into the treatment room on visit 2, I'm saying, by the way, next time when you come in for visit 3, you're going to come straight here to these hot seats. You're going to sit down. You're going to utilize the posture cushion while you're waiting. As soon as it's your turn, you'll come up, you'll come over here. We'll do the neuro scan, and then we'll get you taken care of. And then after which, you're going to work with my assistant, and we're going to do your first exercise appointment. After tomorrow, when you learn how to do the exercises, as soon as you get your treatment done, you're just going to walk over to the rehabilitation room and get started on your exercises individually. So I'm always preempting so that the patient knows exactly what to expect the next time they come in. And then that's what makes these follow-up visits really quickly, because they come in, they don't even need to check in because we can see them walk in, and they go straight to the hot seats where they're sitting on their posture cushion waiting for their turn. And then we do the neuroscan with them, we do their treatment, and then they walk into the rehabilitation room and do rehabilitation on their own. Now, throughout a 12-week program, we're going to do 2 reevaluations, and we're going to do 3 rehabilitation appointments. So 3 exercise appointments, 2 reevals throughout that 12-week period. And then when you're making your treatment plans, this is a topic I'm incredibly passionate about because I never felt like I had a good explanation of how to set up a treatment plan. So I really dove into the research of how I could create really effective treatment plans that made sense for my practice, but also made a ton of sense for the patient. So you always want to have goals, and it should be improving neural capacity and correction of postural distortion patterns. So lay that out so the patient knows exactly what they're working on in each phase of their treatment plan. And then when you're setting up your treatment plan, think about neuroplasticity. So it should be a stair step. We never want to get them to the point of plateau. They should always be doing a little bit more each visit that they come in. So they're always striving for the next step. It doesn't mean that they go from a neural capacity of 30 to 90 in a day. What it means is they go from 30 to 31, and then they go from 31 to 33, and then 33 to 35. So it's a stair step. Every day they're improving. And we want to see multiple exercise phases. So don't just give them 12 weeks of exercises and leave it at that. I want to make sure that you do at least 3 to 4 different phases. Rehabilitation 5 times per day. So this scares a lot of people when they hear that. They go, oh, no way my clients are going to do 5 times per day. Well, they're not going to do 5 times per day if each rehabilitation session takes an hour. So instead of doing 1 hour long session of rehab, I want you to think about how you can break that up into 10-minute rehab sessions 5 times per day. So now these are bite size, and the client can commit to this, doing this 5 times per day. And then also being mindful during rehabilitation. So we have fun in our rehab room. I mean, people are having conversations, they're talking back and forth about to one another, but at the same time, they are instructed to be very mindful. So they're not in there talking on their cell phones, they're not listening to music, they are being mindful about their rehabilitation. Everything is posture focused when they're in the practice. If they're seated, they're on a posture cushion. If they're standing, they're doing balance exercises. If they're doing rehab, they're very mindful. So we make sure that we educate the patient on that, because if not, they're going to grab their cell phone and be looking at that while doing rehabilitation. When it comes to neuro kits, what should you put in your neuro kit? You can modify this based upon your individual needs as a practitioner, but these are my best recommendations. Definitely a posture cushion. Everybody should have a posture cushion. They should be sitting on this at work, plus it's good for rehabilitation. Blue blocker glasses are fantastic, especially for our seated desk workers who are sitting in front of screens. Handheld vibration is a great sensory stimulus. Balance boards, everybody should be working on balance. And then always have a manual for them of their exercises so they can refer back to them, because the last thing that we want is that they perform their exercises incorrectly. All right, patient education. So patient education is fundamental in order to keep our patients on track. So with patient education, I don't want you to think that you need to be memorizing scripts or that you need to say exactly what I say. I want you to keep this very patient specific. So one of the things that I never appreciated was that I was supposed to, things that I had learned from practice management was I was supposed to tell the patients the same exact thing every time, or I was supposed to scare them. I really do not recommend that. I recommend keeping everything super clinical and objective and patient-centered and patient-specific. But with that being said, set yourself up for success with a plan. So one of the things that we are doing for you guys, if you want to start implementing these with your, individual patients, is we're putting together 12 videos and emails that are done for you, so that once the patient starts a 12-week plan, you can just send them an email and a video each week, which covers different topics such as complete postural correction, the posture health connection, digital dementia, sitting disease, posture breaks, ergonomic essentials. So those things that are going to already be a question of your patient, then we already have those addressed for you in these 12 videos and emails if that's something you're interested in. Posture images are fantastic for patient education. They say posture images are worth 1,000 words. I would say they're worth, more than that. It's just when the patient can see themselves, it becomes so real for the patient. So please never skip out on doing posture imaging. And it's so objective for you, so you can see what's going on with their anatomy and physiology. Plus, the patient can see themselves before and after. When they walk out of your office holding before and after posture images, they are like a referral magnet at that point, because the client can then communicate what you do, because it makes sense. Posture, everybody gets posture. And then when, they can show their family members or their colleagues the transformation that took place, it is a very easy yes for them to make a referral. Neural capacity score. So when we actually give the patient a score on day 1, and then we do follow-up reevaluations, and they can see that improvement in neural capacity, and it matches the goals that we put out with our day 2 report of findings. Now we know the patient knows what they're striving for, and they feel like they won. Not only do they feel better and they have better objective results, but they actually feel like they're winning. So this is a great thing to track with neural capacity score, because guys, if you don't do posture images, you don't do a neural capacity score, it's kind of just you telling the patient that they need to keep coming back in. The patient has no reinforcement that what they're doing is correct or wrong. Maybe they feel better, so that's going to be the point where they stop coming in because they feel better. Versus if they have specific goals to meet with their posture images and neural capacity score, then it's clear that they should keep coming in until they hit those goals. And then the postural distortion pattern sheet, I'm going to show that to you. What I want you guys to do is just mark off the postural distortion patterns that they have. We've had our graphic designer make this image for you so that it's really clear from patient education perspective. They understand what symptoms they have and how and why that's related to their posture. Okay, cool. So I want to show you another thing that we have been working. Give me 1 second here with the screen share. just a second to make sure you guys can hear this. So one of the things I've been working on with my graphic designer to get directly to you guys for your report of findings to make it that much more clear is this neural capacity score form. So you can see it, just name and date, typical patient information. But then once you get their neural capacity score, I want you to mark it here on the scale. This makes complete sense to the patient. So we have low function over here by 0. We have optimal function over here by 100. So you mark off where they are on day 1. So current neural capacity score. And then the reason it says previous is because when we do a reevaluation, we're going to put their previous neural capacity score and then their current so that they can see how much they've improved. And then down here, postural correction treatment plan. So phase 1, I want to see you X treatments per week for X amount of weeks. And then the goals for phase 1. So we know that in phase 1, our goal is this. It's 30% reduction in forward head posture and to take you from neural capacity from 32 to 58, for example. So you write those goals there. The patient has them. They know exactly what they're working on. And then we're not promising that everything's going to be taken care of and completely transformed tomorrow. We're saying, listen, in phase 1, we want to achieve this. And then what's cool is we're going to test our progress. So after phase 1, we're going to do a reevaluation to see how we're doing. If we have not met our goals, what modifications can we make to then reach our goals? Or if we have met our goals, excellent. Then we're in phase 2 and now we're working on our next goal. And same thing with phase 3. Okay, and then overall treatment plan goals. So then you can just write more information here. Overall, over the course of the 12 weeks, we want to see this. And more specifically, over the course of phase 1, we want to see this, phase 2, phase 3. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys that so you have that visual. I want you to be able to just fill that out in the report of findings. And what's cool about it is then the patient walks out holding it so they know, but then you can use this as a guide while you're communicating it to the patient. To show you that neural capacity score. So just a reminder of a few things that you guys already have in your bonus material is the Brain Based Posture Analysis checklist. Guys, this thing is golden. It is absolutely, this is a make your life easier thing. Please use it. That's why it's here. It is here for you guys. So first of all, one of the reasons this is great is you don't have to remember each of the tests by memory. They're all here for you so that you can make sure you don't skip anything. I don't know if you guys have ever had that experience where maybe you forgot to do something on a first visit and then you're going, oh, I forgot to do that with that patient. Now I don't know what they presented with. So first of all, this is going to make your life easy because it's all laid out here. Then you don't have to remember right or left. You don't have to have a whole new notepad. You can just mark it off as you go. By the time you finish the report, the brain-based posture analysis on day 1, you already have their neural capacity score here. Okay? Excellent. We love it. So then you just saw the neural capacity report of findings form. So then when they do the report of findings, they're going to get their posture image. They're going to get their neural capacity treatment plan, which maps it out. It says low function, high function. Where are you on the scale? And then I always say my goal is to get you above an 80. And once we get you above an 80, then that's considered a success and we're ready to go into lifetime posture, for example. In addition to that, I want you guys to be giving them this, the postural dysfunction sheet. So this is just like this poster. And the reason it's just like this poster is because I use the poster to my benefit when I'm educating them. So I told you I do a 2-minute scale on day 1 and day 2. I utilize these 2 posters. That's why I have them. That's why I'm always standing in front of them, because they're invaluable to my communication. And then on day 2 on their report of findings, they get this, and it says forward head posture, lateral head flexion. For example, we mark them off. And then it says symptoms of postural dysfunction in postural quadrant 1. So they go, oh, that makes sense why I have neck pain. That makes sense why I have headaches. Oh, of course I have fatigue. And then we mark this off so they walk out holding this and they can communicate it. Okay. So again, on day 2, they're going to get that report of findings form for their neural capacity. They're going to get their posture image and they're going to get the postural dysfunction sheet here. I promise you guys, when you have these materials and you follow it in a specific order, it makes your life so easy on that report of findings. And the reason I'm celebrating over here is because I struggled with report of findings. For me, it was always difficult. I felt like I was memorizing scripts. I was trying to convert the patient. I was trying to sell to them the whole time. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. Once I learned how to keep it objective and communicate in a way that makes sense to them, it was like a no-brainer every time every patient says yes. And then this is another useful form that you guys have for your day-to-days. So this is NeuroScan checklist, okay? So that way, and once you get going, you won't really need this because you'll be so quick at it. But in the beginning, when you start using the NeuroScan on those individual visits, just use this, and then you don't have to try and remember, rack your brain, was it right or left, or what did they have for cerebellum, what did they have for vestibular? You can just mark it off on the checklist. So that's one of the things that's available for you too. So I want to show you these forms because we certainly want to make your life easier. You guys know that our number one priority is that your success is our priority. So we put together these forms so that you guys can utilize them in practice and be just very effective with your system so that you can be high volume. If you are high volume, you can see a lot of people, but you also effectively communicate with your patients and you take care of them in a very efficient manner. Now, another thing that I recommend is these posters. Like I said, I utilize them for education with every patient. So they come in on day one, I give them a 2-minute explanation of the posture health connection. I explain, if you have postural distortion patterns of posture quadrant 1, you're likely experiencing headaches, neck pain, etc. And then we go through each of the posture quadrants so they understand it, and we make it about them and their pain and their symptoms, not because that's the only thing we focus on. In fact, objectively, we're measuring neural capacity and postural distortion patterns, but the patient wants to know that they're being taken care of and that you care about their pain and that is something that is going to be addressed in a treatment plan. So just mention it during that 2-minute introduction. And then from that point, everything's all about posture and neural capacity because we can objectively measure that to make sure to double check ourselves to make sure we're doing our job, but also so the patient knows what they're working on. It is total magic. It is a major thumbs up. You guys are going to just rock it out when you start doing this on your report of findings, I promise. Posture images, you really can't go without those. If you want easy yeses, have posture imaging. And plus, again, it's objective, so we really want to see that. And those are honestly my best recommendations for implementation. So if you guys have any other specific questions, feel free to email me, feel free to post them in the Facebook group. So we have that CPN forum for clinical questions, for implementation questions. Anything that you guys need to be successful, just post it in there. Be sure to tag me so that I see it, and then we'll make sure that we get you the information that you need with that as well. All right, guys, make it a great day. Truly, your success is our priority. So any other questions that you have with implementation or any other ways that I can help you be successful, like if there's a form that you want, you can always request it. I can't guarantee it'll be done tomorrow, but if it's something that will help you and all of our other students, then we will do our best to get that done for you as well. Okay, so we have these resources for you. Please utilize them. What you guys do is going to change the world. Please know that. Please own that, and be excited in practice because you guys have phenomenal skill set with postural neurology. All right, guys, make it a great day, and remember, it's posture by design and not by circumstance.